Okay, the next session talks about a solution analysis that has caused or that has come or surfaced in this situation of working from home, with almost everyone's company assessing the shift, thousands of softwares coming in, programs launching. Some people have had specific needs. Some companies have gone through a smooth ride, and some have had a really tough time. We'll have the session leader, Artem Avdeev. He is AIM from Only Office, and he'll be leading the session. Over to you, Artem.
Hello, everyone. Hello, dear speakers, dear audience. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us. And a lot has been said today about this new situation. So the pandemic changed the way we live, and it changed the way we work. And what was impossible to imagine a year ago is now referred to as a new normal. So our session is about tools, but as previous speakers mentioned, it is never about tools. So the tools are meant by humans and made for humans and used by humans. So we can't just ignore that thing. So I represent a company which provides such a solution for remote work. It combines workspace and collaborative platform and other things like CRM, project management, everything you would need for digital workspace, right? So, the project started 10 years ago and was meant for remote work before the pandemic, of course. But with the first lockdowns last year, we realized the usefulness of our project and of our product, and not only because the demand grew. Actually, we are also the users of our software, and we started to use our platform more and more, and never before. So that being said, we were ready somehow for remote work. We were prepared, but of course, the transition was not seamless and was different for different departments. Some appeared to be more productive, others had difficulties. For me, it would be very interesting to hear about your experience with working from home, with tools, what you use, and not only on corporate, maybe on personal basis as well to organize your work. I expect that sharing this will help us to understand and tackle the main pain points and consider the best practices we can implement to improve our working from home. So I think my speakers have a lot more to say, and probably they have a bigger picture as well, so they may know more about trends, maybe something visionary can be shared here, that this would be really of value for us. So that is not something theoretical. This is something that we are doing right now. So we are working remotely, right? So my question would be, my first question would be for the speakers. So what was the situation like before the pandemic? How many people, what percentages of people in the organization already work from home, and what is the situation right now? Rohit, can you take that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. It's an interesting question. In fact, I have answered it so many times in so many different ways. COVID has presented a lot of opportunities. I have to, I remember that when the pandemic got declared, like everybody was rushing here and there, where the customers were also worried about their own safety and their own operations, and we were also. But one thing that kept us moving, that we all wanted to continue the work, and it all started with that. Before the COVID, we are more or less like we are a software development firm. We have roughly about 110 people working, and based out of Ahmedabad as a primary office and a couple of international offices. But those are like very flexible timing there. So 98 to 99% of the people used to work from office only every day. They had all the fun, catching. Yeah, that's a big number.
The majority. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much on. And suddenly the lockdown came in place. I remember one of the speakers today, and they were saying that some of their friends literally had to hire, auto rickshaws and tempos like that, like trucks, to transport the computers. Similarly, we also had to, do some things. We facilitated some companies, to help us in the logistics, because the first problem that we could see in the transition is that not everybody had that decent workspace environment in their home. A lot of people are working out of the major cities. They travel from the smaller cities, and they never thought about having a specific home offices in their home. And even the families were also not inclined towards seeing them, right, working from home. And equally, that was the same challenge at our own end, right? So the first thing that we did also at the senior leadership, we started talking internally, and we had an internal family calls, just to get everyone on the place. And then we started, doing the counseling with the other people. In the meantime, the equipment got transferred. Coincidentally, IT company, so we had everything in place, right amount of technology in place and the processes. So we had the transition managed pretty well. That was the first experience that I could say, from the transition.
That means in terms of infrastructure, of software infrastructure, you were already quite prepared for this situation.
Yeah, our business demands that kind of infrastructure, because we serve to the international clients more. So more or less that kind of a sensitization to work remotely, and to have the right equipment in the office in one physical location was there. But certainly when we look at the challenges in terms of having those similar setups at distributed locations, it's a completely different ballgame altogether.
Seth, and what was the situation in your company? What was it like?
This is interesting. Last 2 days, in fact, we were talking about the exact same thing. It's like deja vu, right? So heading into Jan 2020, India got infected a lot later, March timeframe, or at least was known widely during the March-April timeframe. So heading into 2020, we thought, yeah, we are awesome. We are placed really, really well. We are going to do, this is going to be a breakthrough year for us. So it seems as of the clock got rewinded in 2021. So we're talking about the exact same thing. So it's like 1 year got taken out of the calendar. So it seems like that. But in terms of your exact, to answer your question, most of us were working out of our development office. We build products. We are like a SEAL team of tech that just focuses on building products. We build products either for other product companies or other companies worldwide, and we have our own product as well. So, but essentially our expertise is in product building. And a lot of work, like what Rohit also mentioned, infrastructure was set up to an extent, but it's not just about the development part, right? So at least the work that we do, a lot of it is collaboration, not just tech development as such, right? Or even engineering part of it. So that part of it, there are tools out there in the market, where you could leverage on things such as, GitLab, GitHub, and so on for source control. You have cloud-based systems. You have your CI/CD systems, and almost all the infrastructure is there in the cloud that you could potentially utilize from a development standpoint. Similarly, you could do pair programming. You could do whatever you need to, agile project management systems. Everything is there on the cloud. But the challenge comes in terms of the collaboration, because for us intrinsically, when you're product building, a lot of it is actual collaboration with customers. You're talking day in and day out, that too in an agile kind of engineering team standpoint. We struggled quite significantly, and I'll be very honest. We worked longer to get the same amount of work done. So just the coordination took a large toll. For us, that was one big challenge. And two, from a company standpoint, I think the largest challenge is in terms of culture. It's more of a tribal culture if you look at it because you're a small company as well. Most small companies are that way. I think Rohit can definitely relate to it. I think Artem, you can relate to it as well, right? So your engineering team really gets together very strong. Same with customers as well. Right? So it's a very closely knit organization. A lot of things get done just by being there in person, right? In terms of transition of knowledge, in terms of transfer of knowledge, in terms of ensuring that you can have huddles to talk about different design decisions and engineering problem, how to solve a particular engineering problem and so on. Those things, it was very hard to replicate. And we failed pretty miserably during the first few months, 3 months and so on, until we were able to force to innovate and find certain ways of getting around it. Because a lot of this comes to basic individual practices as well. Right? So I want to discuss something, I need to be able to be free to be able to call people together and have a conversation very quickly. In an office, we just pull people to a whiteboard and get it done. Right? So those types of things are extremely difficult to be able to, it was extremely difficult to handle. Similarly, conversations with customers, right? In an agile development, you're not documenting everything upfront. It's, pay as you go kind of thing, right? So you're developing as you're going. And having those conversations, whiteboarding with customers, though a lot of it was done remote earlier, the need for even explaining among team members just increased significantly. Otherwise, you could just huddle around a table and get on a call with the customer and get stuff done. Here, that was not the case anymore. So we have people from multiple locations. A person has a thought. You couldn't just go to a whiteboard and just whiteboard it out. You couldn't just put it on paper and show it to folks. Real problems that we had in terms of actually delivering. So all of those just increase the need for us to do things in a much more, I would say, rigorous manner, more than anything else, and spend a lot more time and effort that way. Most engineering teams on the call, I'm sure, can relate to all of the challenges that I'm talking about, because I'm sure each one of us is facing this day in and day out. Right? So those were real challenges that we had to face. We are still facing it, by the way. So it's not that we have come out of it yet. So,
absolutely, I would say that when the lockdown was declared, everybody thought the vacation starts. And immediately within 1 week, 10 days, they realize that they are really a social animal. They can't live alone.
That's so true. So as you mentioned, so basic problems are communication and collaboration, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Can we just be a little bit more specific in terms of tools? What you are using right now, what you expect, and what is critical for you in terms of collaboration software and communication tools.
Sure.
Also, to keep it, what would you prefer to have one tool for everything, or just would you prefer to use best tools which exist on the market? What is the best strategy here from your point of view?
Rohit, do you want to go, or should I actually take the question? Either way is good. So.
Maybe we can split it out, because we both are, in the same boat. So we've got some tools. So when it comes to work planning and all, we have our own product. So that has helped us a lot. If we had to move on to a new process, work planning and execution, it would have been so difficult. For the communication, we had Microsoft Teams, and we were glad that we were using it for quite a long time. The most difficult part was to have everyone realize the value of a calendar. And during this lockdown, everybody got to know that how powerful the calendar is. It gives the control, it gives them a control. So time does not control them. and they become friend over time. So over to you, Sai.
So for us, in terms of collaboration, communication, so we used number of different tools for different aspects. But what everybody uses is one, Google Meet. We are on Google Business Suite, so we use Google Meets quite significantly in terms of communication, even customer calls and so on. Sometimes Zoom. And in terms of our own internal communication, so a lot of us are gamers, so we use Discord. Discord is something, it's open source, you can host it on your own servers, and we did that. Slack, getting a paid account is, there is only a limited number of messages that you can have before you get to a paid plan and so on. We are big open source proponents, and we contribute back to open source as well. So we use Discord internally from a communication standpoint. But irrespective of all these tools, the challenge that we had is in terms of whiteboarding. Right, our life, we didn't realize it then. Now we realize it very clearly. It ran on whiteboarding. We realized it earlier in the sense that it used to be messy all the time, but what the effect of the messiness is what we saw during this downturn or during the pandemic, basically. It's extremely difficult to replace whiteboards, man. So if there's a virtual solution that could do it, bets off we would absolutely do it. Because the ease with which you could just get to a whiteboard, scribble on top of it, make sure that you could understand, communicate your ideas. Extremely difficult to actually do during this. By far, I would say the biggest challenge is one, lack of whiteboard. Two is the culture element that still needs some more thought, but definitely if there's a digital whiteboard that we can utilize, then got it made.
Absolutely. In fact, this is a challenge which is going to be there continuously because, of course, this pandemic has given us all an opportunity to learn how we can perform in pressing times. It also has opened up an ability of an individual to look at into a non-conventional way of working. So there is an opportunity, of course, that can be useful for the future, process transformations. But at the same time, having those kind of tools that really ease out, the processes, that does not create more task or more work for a developer or any individual, right? Those are going to be the need, in the time to come. Those tools which should be very simple and to the point. It should serve specific purposes. Not like one tool, it can serve 10 purposes, but a tool for one purpose like that. So I think it's an opportunity also for the organization, large to small sizes, that how effectively you can use specific tools to perform a specific function, and that too also in a all scheme of things and to solve a specific challenge. While you were discussing, I realized that there are different elements also. Something like I call it as a hybrid model to operate, right? Because for us, our office space in Ahmedabad was full before the COVID, right? So we thought that we needed to expand, and we did not have enough space. So we were in the process of looking for an additional space, and then the COVID came. It helped us to realize not just an executives or a leadership, but everyone that we can still operate in, working remotely. Now we were able to add 25, 30 more people. And now anybody who would like to come to office, they are, planning within the teams, managing those schedules and leveraging those flexibilities. So flexibilities in terms of like having a control on the schedules, right? That's all a bit of flexibility. Have your availability also predictable. So those were the things, that has also led us to a different kind of a growth. And we could leverage that opportunity to some extent. I don't know how long it is going to remain relevant, because we are yet to see what would happen once the vaccination is done across the places and everybody is feeling free about it. But more or less, there are a lot of people that I could see that I have discussed in the past, and the interviews that I also have taken, they feel very comfortable spending 20-30% time at home, and they would like to look at that that kind of a work arrangement where they are focused on specific deliverables, result-oriented work, using more productive approaches to the work, right? Because everybody would like to be relevant, right? When it comes to a work, moderation to career growth. So I guess there is a blessing in disguise, and that also we should look at it with a combination of improvised processes and the tools, and try to also experiment what we could not do in the past. That's also an opportunity for all of us.
Yes, of course. So from what I get from you, I think you prefer the best tools with specific tasks, and that's the strategy. And I think also Seth mentioned that they use a combination Microsoft products and some open source products. So you have the variety of solutions in place. So do you think in that relation integration is important for different platforms, and partnerships is really becoming more and more important in this current situation?
So Artem, actually, honestly, more than single solution or multiple solutions, if it helps solve the problem, that is all that we are looking for. At least I'll be looking for it. So I'm sure Rohit will be the same way as well, right? So for us, the problem needs to get solved in terms of ease of communication, ease of this one, right? So whether it's done by a single or multiple, hardly material. Definitely needs to be integrated in certain aspects for certain tools. So for example, I check in code, it needs to build automatically. I need an integrated solution there. I'm assigning a work task. Somebody gets it done. It needs to get automatically. Once they are done, it needs to get automatically closed. It needs to the next task needs to get lined up and so on. So there's a bunch of things that you can do. So those solutions absolutely needs to get integrated. From a communication standpoint, if there's a way to integrate that back to be able to say, let's say that there's a story that we need to pick up to play, and there is communication that's happening on the whiteboard. You sketch something, you make notes out of it, say here is kind of what we discussed, and you minute it out. If that can get attached with the story back, nothing like it again. Right? So because it just helps. The BA gets done, and dev can get, then pick up from there at that point onwards. So some of these tools, if it's integrated, absolutely it's going to help. There are other cases where we don't really need that kind of integration, because let's say you just go discuss and so on. So
okay, sure. Well, okay, good. And of course, as the previous session, there is a security concern as well with all the tools used remotely, and I guess we have to tackle that. So we need to think it over when we develop software, when we choose the right solution. And also,
for us, we had a major challenge. I'm sure Vijay would also be aware about the data security when we deliver solution for the customers who are abroad, because client data protection becomes the first rule of any engagement. Now, it's not about a trust issue between the employees and the employer, but it's all about the issues those got created because of the hacking and all other things. If a computer or a node is hacked, that data is compromised, and if that data is compromised, if it has any kind of a data pertaining to any customer, for example, the GDPR compliance out of Europe, right? It could lead into a lot of consequences. So we had to, make sure that the right process is in place. We had to, do the workshops also with every individual, right? That why it is important for us to, look into these aspects, to manage the data protection and have, the computers as a part of the information security framework of an organization. As a result, a lot of people traveled to office and took their computer also, because it's much connected. It has all those things, what we actually monitor, as well as all the logs and encryption and all other things. And we were able to handle that very carefully, and happy to say that it was really satisfying experience to see that from information security perspective, we were doing better than what we were anticipating, the kind of challenges that we would have. Right. So, but kudos to the team. They were willing to take forward those kind of steps. Come to office, and take the computers, and the team. There was an operational team which was looking after this all logistics and all. But we were able to take care of it very well. We did not have any data loss so far. And in addition to that, we also realized, in fact, that was an input came from one of the project managers, that we should have to have a framework to protect the interest of every individual who is working in the project, as well as the client and the company. So for the large engagement, we ended up making those agreements of non-disclosure and all other things. And whatever the nodes and the computers that we were using, we were making a log of it as per the ISO standards. So I would say, even though we were certified company, right, we were complying that to the extent possible, but we have used those compliance framework for the first time in full. We feel that okay, now these processes are really impacting in terms of giving us a comfort, giving us a peaceful sleep, that okay, everything is taken care of. So.
Okay, thank you, Rohit, so much. Rohit and Seth, I think we were short in time, right? So maybe one or two more questions, and we'll keep it brief. So there are two ways in terms of infrastructure: central clouds, on-premise software, sometimes hybrid. So what is your choice, and why? How does it affect your productivity?
So central cloud is a go by all means from mine.
This is your choice, right? Okay. And Seth,
so at Ajira as well as CASA, everything is on a central cloud. So we use different service providers. So that's a much better way to go for smaller organizations. We do, however, work with customers who have hybrid models, as well as private infrastructure. So I don't see those going away, primarily due to the concerns that you raised around data privacy and so on. Right? So people are just not comfortable in putting data onto the cloud. So there have been instances where even in CASA, we have had to deploy to our customers, hybrid model or to their private infrastructure as well. But for tools from a collaboration standpoint, as long as security concerns are maintained in a sufficient enough manner, and it gets the job done, I think that's central cloud is definitely a preferable option.
Okay, and just very shortly, if exists something like a perfect tool existed, what would it be like for you?
So how much are you going to pay us back in terms of royalty? I'm just kidding. Okay, so, I don't know, man. So for me, there are these two areas are extremely critical. If there was a tool, we would absolutely go for it. One is the same ease with which we can do whiteboarding and have discussions around ideas. If something like that is there, for me, that would be one killer app. I can't see a person not using it, that too in these times. And in any case, I think this is just acceleration, right? So even earlier, a liquid workforce was something that people used to talk about, and I think it's just gained a lot more momentum. I think that would be a killer application. If somehow you could do whiteboarding and then merge it with the tools that are already existing, that would be great. The second problem, I can say what the problem is. I don't have a good way of even looking at it yet. Is culture. Some way, shape, or form, a lot of organizations stay together because of culture and people. And primarily smaller organizations, right? So for us, that becomes extremely critical. To be able to maintain our culture and so on. So any collaboration tools that would help us to do that in a much easier manner would be great.
Okay, great. And we can discuss royalties afterwards, right? Richard, and for you?
For me, one of the tool, I would say to summarize what Vijay is saying, I think if there is a tool for the training and development, which is more engaging, gamified and all sort of a thing, that would be the tool that we would definitely like to invest into, because that's the most difficult part where, we cannot operate so easily working remotely.
Sure.
You need to have that, perspective of personalization, or let's say, individual based interactions. And second would be definitely, I mean, more or less productivity tool. We use Office 365. It helps us to know that how much productive we are. But still, at times, I've seen that the managers and all, they spend roughly about 40 to 50% of their time just behind multiple conversations and all. Somebody wants to use Slack, some client prefer, this platform, the other platform and all. If there is some intelligent way, for them to look into one channel, irrespective to where the other channels are coming from, it would be really a game changer.
Sure. So yeah, collaboration tools, productivity tools, whiteboarding. So these are essential now. And yeah. Also some tools for specific needs. Okay. Shall we? Do we have more time, or shall we stop here?
Well, it's lunchtime in India, so
I would recommend that we move on to the next panel. We are really running short on time, and yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Rohit. Thank you, Vijayaraghavan. Thank you, Artem. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Charlie.
Thank you, guys.
It was nice talking to you.
absolutely same here.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Goodbye.